Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to the channel. I'm Stylosa and I'm joined by the glorious...
One amongst many, yes, I'm here too. You've pulled me out. I mean, it's 10 o'clock at night just to time the video. What do you want to chat about, Stylo? What do you want to talk about?
I want to talk about the meta, Josh. I want to talk about, is barrier meta going away and are we going to get dive? Now, I've seen some very grandiose claims of dive is coming back, Sigma, Orisa are dead, and I'm sitting there, Josh, and I'm like, I have just watched weeks of Overwatch World Cup scrims where the only tanks that are being played, and this is all on the PTR, guys, is Sigma and Orisa. So I'm like, your barrier's not going anywhere.
Ooh, the thing is, though, you say that and it's like, well, that's the pros. They're all coordinated. They're all synced up. What about us plebs? Like, when GOATS was meta, we weren't playing GOATS on the ladder. And, like, unless you were in Grandmaster, you're not playing GOATS. You're just playing big, brawly tank mode, right? It's not actually the synced up, like, get his area bubble in place, get the Brigitte stun. Absolutely perfect. And we're not kind of doing the same thing on the ladder as well. Like, for most people, that doesn't matter. And it's like... Sure, Sigma Orisa really good, really strong, but they've been nerfed, Sty, and like they buffed all the dive heroes. Like Lucio's buffed, Winston's buffed, Tracer's buffed. So surely there must be a chance.
I think it comes to the difficulty of execution, and it's really easy to execute Sigma Orisa. if you want to execute dive tanks, if you want to take D.Va and Winston, and then you've got dive DPS. Let's say Genji makes a resurgence, like. To coordinate a dive is a lot more difficult than coordinating just spamming a barrier. I think that's honestly the biggest issue. I think that has been an issue with 222 coming in, which has given us this meta, which is actually really easy to play to get a lot of value. I mean, it makes me a little bit sad though, because I think for us on the ladder, you're right. It doesn't like we don't look at the pro meta and go, that is the meta that we need to play. It's a meta we can use to get quite a lot of value, but that's not to say you can still play, maybe a Winston, or you could play a Hammond or whatever in the tank slots. Tracer is kind of what I want to talk about. I've been playing a lot of Tracer, and you guys are seeing a ton of Tracer footage in the background of this video. I need you to be the voice of reason here, Josh. I am starting to think she's mega strong, like really, really strong, but I'm not sure if that's just because I haven't played her for a very long time.
Tracer is one of those heroes that, if you don't play her for a while and you come back to her and suddenly you remember, oh my god, she does like 230 damage, I think, with a full clip, body shots only. It's an insane amount of DPS that she can do, and it's like, if the enemy team isn't ready for her and can't deal with her well, you can absolutely kind of spiral out of control and take over the game, and that's where people start getting very frustrated. But this is the chilling effect. This is where I want to calm you down and, like, be that voice of reason. If the enemy team has heroes that are vulnerable to Tracer, you can do a lot. If the enemy team is playing Mei and Reaper and Sigma and Orisa and like Baptiste and Moira, you're probably going to have a bit of a harder time because, well, what do you kill? You can have all this killing power, but if they can go into an ice block, you're going to be stuffed. If they can put up their hand and just absorb all your bullets, you can't really do anything with that. If they can do an immortality field, then okay, you got a big cooldown out, but it's still going to be a little bit difficult to deal with. And you could do all this stuff, but kind of do the same thing as Tracer, go into the backline, put on a lot of pressure, but he does it very safely. And you can absolutely one-shot Baptiste out of his poxy little immortality field because he knocks him out of it. And he can blow up Moira's much easier. And he can bully tanks much easier. So why not that option? Why not that option instead?
That's a good point you've brought up there with, like, maybe you're playing into a team comp that works really well, so you feel super OP. The last overanalyze I did, it was exactly that. It was a Tracer, and the Tracer, the comments in the email was like, oh, I'm so great. How the hell am I at this rank? Look at this amazing game I've had. But you watch the game, it's Tracer into Zen and Brig. The enemy team had Zen and Brig as their supports. That is why Tracer was killing everyone, because he could kill the supports every single engagement. And I'm sitting there in the video going, yeah, you do realize that you're only getting this massive value because these people are not changing, so you're farming the hell out of them. And I think that applies to all of the heroes. And this is something you get in Overwatch quite a lot. You have that game, don't you, where like, I know you really like Ashe, Josh, right? So you play Ashe and you're like, I've just had an incredible game. It's an awesome game. And then you want to play her in the next game, don't you? So you try and do it. But maybe the enemy have got something like double barriers to stop you from doing anything. And then you're kind of like on a downer, right? You're like, oh, man.
Game's broken. Game's wrong. Game's terrible. It just doesn't work.
Because I can't shoot anyone.
Exactly.
But I mean, going back to the original point, is the meta going to change? Now, we've seen all these crazy claims. barriers are gone, dive's coming in. It's I don't know, like it's difficult. I don't think dive is coming in, but I think it will work on certain maps against certain teams. But you're going to have to work out if it's going to work against what the enemy team's got, basically, and you're going to have to kind of do it on the fly. But the big problem is it's just easy to roll with Sigma and Orisa. Like, I can guarantee you that when I go in and start playing tank, people will be telling me to play Orisa and Sigma. If I pick Winston, they'll be like, get off Winston. Even though Winston's got a buff. I mean, we look at the details of the buffs here and the nerfs. So Orisa is
1 second
barrier.
cooldown.
1 second, yeah. So 1 second increased cooldown on the barrier. I mean, that's not really enough, is it? That doesn't really make any difference in my eyes. It's like, well, whatever. What difference does that make?
It's an unusual buff because they're trying to like buff. So they buffed all these dive heroes. So Winston's got an extra 100 barrier on his shield. Lucio's speed boost is better. Tracer's better. All that kind of stuff. If you're playing dive, you have no interaction with that shield. You have no interaction with Orisa's shield at all, right? So that buff to the Orisa shield, like this is where it gets a bit complex.
Nerf, it's a nerf.
Sorry, that nerf to the Orisa shield doesn't have any impact towards dive. What it does have an impact towards is a different hero, which is Roadhog, who got buffed and now has 6 shots instead of 5. Because now he can do all this damage to the Orisa barrier and it's going to be down more, and so you're going to have a bigger window. But towards dive, the Orisa change, 0 impact, because dive heroes aren't shooting at that barrier. Like, if you're playing dive, you're not shooting at that barrier. I think the real obstacle to dive, though, like by far the biggest one, is we both play on EU. Sty, how many people talk in your games?
Yeah,
probably a little bit more than mine, because you're at a bit of a higher rank than me, and people generally do talk a little bit more, but
they talk to Flame.
Yeah, like generally the first words I hear are generally like, stop playing X, or oh my god,
maybe,
blah, 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 it's so terrible, what
hang
you
on,
doing?
hang on, maybe it's also the Batiste effect. They have nerfed his immortality field, so they know how strong that is. Batiste and the drone's got less health. Batiste and Moira are very difficult to dive. They are probably the most undivable supports, unless, like, I don't know, Mercy's got a crazy Guardian Angel she can pull off. Like, how do you kill those? If it's Ana and it's Zen, well, there's a target there. You know, traditionally, dive had Zen, didn't it? Zen was on both teams. He was everywhere. Zen was typically the target you went after with the dive. Where's your target here, Josh, with dive? Who do you go after?
Yeah, that's the thing. You've got to go after like the Baptiste, and then like, oh well, he's dropped the immortality field. Well, you either got to stay in, kill 200 hit points more, so he's effectively a 400 hit point support, I suppose. And if he puts it in a good spot, then you got to be even like, you got to deal with that all of a sudden. That's very difficult. Or you have to like disengage and then re-engage again, but that's just dragging the fight out. That's not what you want to do as dive. You want to have a big, quick, decisive fight. So it's that very difficult situation of like, yes, dive is stronger, but the heroes that are currently being played and the heroes that are currently strong are so survivable. That's the thing you got to keep in mind. And yeah, like you said, like you identified, it's all about identifying the enemy team. It's all about going, well, they're actually playing like, oh, they actually have a McCree. And you might think, wait, that's insane. Don't dive McCree. He's got a flashbang. But flashbang's only good against one hero. If you have like, you know, Winston, Tracer, Doomfist, like you have 3 heroes or something to go into the backline, the McCree will get stuffed every single time without fail. So if they have these vulnerable heroes, you can do a lot. You can absolutely do a lot with dive, and it's going to be pretty strong right now. But if they are playing what is currently, you know, towards the meta, the Orisa, Sigma, the Reaper, the Mei, it's going to be much, much harder to do anything to these heroes, to the backline, to the DPS heroes, or to the tanks, because they're so strong, they're so survivable, that you can't kill them in time. And they'll just grind you down.
Let's talk about the Doomfist nerf then, right? Because Doomfist, right, okay, he's highly frustrating to play against, and a good Doomfist player just wins the game. It's just a fact, ladies and gentlemen, it's bad right now. But Doomfist gets nerfed. Doomfist is actually the DPS counter to barriers, and they nerf him. Like, what's the thinking behind that?
I think it's just coming from, you know, he is the super frustrating hero to play, but or play against, rather, not to play. He's super fun to play.
No, he's really fun to play.
He's really fun to play.
Yeah.
You get to be the shining golden god and just stomp on everyone. The issue I have with Doomfist is like we've been talking about with dive. It's like he is the one-man dive. You don't need anybody else to go into that backline and assassinate someone. So he kind of needed the nerf. The issue with the nerf is it's like, is it targeting the right thing? where I don't know about you, but I play a good amount of support, and when Doomfist comes in and annihilates me, he generally gets out with about 120, 130 hit points. He's usually got quite a lot.
That's the other nerf as well, isn't it? They did nerf his barrier generation.
Exactly. And so he's going to have like 30 less barriers. Oh no. Woe betide the Doomfist.
So is this enough then? Like what? Like all right, let's just throw this out there. Blizzard, why do you think they make these like mediocre changes? I mean, they could just go all guns in and just like make massive sweeping changes. Why are they making these little incremental changes? Like maybe this will work a little bit of reduction in power, but if you want to shut something down, just go in and just like shut it down.
Because, well, okay, so there's a couple of reasons why they probably don't do that. The first reason why is if you go in and you like completely rip out someone. So if they went in and made Doomfist gain like 5 barrier per hit or something stupid, and like have massive cooldowns and just kind of not work, everybody who likes Doomfist, everyone who plays Doomfist leaves and they go and they sign up to the Project A beta and they never look at Overwatch ever again. And so they've got to be careful with that first and foremost. Like, just they can't kill characters, or we've seen this with like Mercy in the past.
They've killed Brig. Is Brig dead? Is Brig dead right now? It feels dead to me.
Yeah. And so, but they have to be so careful with that. And so it's like, but also I think they want to have it so that they have a faster patch. Like, it feels like these changes would be fine if they were patching like every 2 weeks. But they're not. They're patching like once every month, it feels like. Every time there's an event, there's a new patch, and that's kind of when we get the new balance changes at the same time. So these small changes, these small tweaks, yeah, they'll slowly push us towards a better meta and a better game overall, but they're so slow that it's like, well, if that patch doesn't work, then we've got like another month and a half, another 2 months to look forward to of barrier meta. And people aren't going to look forward to that, unfortunately.
Well, it's become a meme, hasn't it, right now? I mean, you did reference Project A there, which is in a very early alpha state, but even then, people were referencing, oh, well, as long as it doesn't have barriers, it'll be fine. And all of this going around, it's like, yeah, barriers are frustrating in Overwatch, but it's kind of the way the game is built. You have to play around them or play through them or try and take them out. Or Blizzard have to make maybe some sort of fundamental game change at BlizzCon with some major announcement. Who knows? But it's difficult and it is annoying. But I guess to bring this all back in and go back to that original question, is dive meta... like, has it killed barrier meta? What's the answer to that, Josh? I think I know what you're going to say.
I'm going to say it's an emphatic no with a big butt, with a big old booty, with a Kim Kardashian stood next to it. Because it's like, meta is one of those things. Every single time we have a discussion about meta, there's always the same comments, which is like, meta doesn't really matter in a lot of levels. And I vehemently agree with that. The meta is something that applies to, it does apply to all levels, but it's also about like, ease of operation and ease of use. The meta is simply like the easiest way to win with a very sort of standard regime. It's the path of least resistance. But you don't necessarily have to play that way if you're good enough. You don't actually have to play that way if the enemy team doesn't know how to exploit the weaknesses of what you're doing. So if they don't know how to exploit the weaknesses of, let's say, like a Winston dive comp, which is, well, you just pick Mei and suddenly all the problems go away. Like, Winstons can play around Reaper a little bit. They can play around Sigma a little bit. They can play around Orisa, but playing around Mei is extremely difficult. So yeah, you just pick the Mei and you play very defensively and suddenly you can start winning. But if they don't know that and you can exploit that, you can absolutely win games. And that's why you see people win with all sorts of random stuff, because people don't know how to exploit those weaknesses, and when they don't, that's when you can capitalize. And that's why it's so important to identify what the enemy's doing and then react to it and figure out the best way to win.
I think it was Architect. He's rank 1. Well, he's Architect, and he was playing Widow and like Ashe and McCree or whatever, and he was rank 1. So yeah, but this is an example of a player who is exceptionally good. So they can sort of break the mold, and that's always been the case, right? Well, you're totally right, Josh. I mean, you guys can probably see this in your games. If you know, when you swap to Mei, let's say it's the end of, I don't know, Dorado, and you're trying to defend the payload. Maybe you were playing, I don't know, McCree for whatever reason. The enemy team are pushing, and as the payload's coming around the corner about to reach the end, maybe you come out as Mei this time and you drop a wall, you just sort of spray, you do like annoying Mei things. You're actually really probably going to screw up the enemy push because they're not going to be ready for the Mei because the Mei's just appeared and she's very high value in that situation. Or maybe you go to a Doomfist. It's like when you go to Doomfist on any 2CP final point and you just rock out with Doomfist, it's like, oh, I've just got 3 kills, haha, we've won the point, because they don't expect it. So yeah, meta isn't something you need to just stick to, but it is something you can always use to go, hey, if this works, this might be something we should look at. Of course, the problem with it is, as you start playing Overwatch more and more, eventually you'll go through the ranks, it becomes difficult to not play the meta. And right now, the meta is very easy to replicate because the heroes involved are not, like an acceptable Mei player is not the same as an acceptable Tracer player, is it? Let's be real. Like, Tracer is much more difficult to pull off to the same level of value as a Mei or a Reaper or maybe a Doomfist.
Looking at the supports, like compare Zenyatta, my beloved Zenyatta, to Moira, and it's like, I don't mean to sort of besmirch Moira players. She's a lovely lass, she's fun to play, but there's, she's extremely safe, and she's not exactly a technical hero, is what I would say. So it's like, eventually, if you stick to that meta, and like this is kind of the issue that they face with this meta in particular, it's like a lot of the heroes that are strong are also just a little bit boring. I'm gonna say it. I'm sorry, except for Doomfist, perhaps. Doomfist is kind of exciting. Reaper's kind of exciting. Sigma's very exciting, but
I think that's
not an exciting thing to build up on.
I think the problem with it, Josh, is
I'll take that bullet,
it's the repetition. It's the repetition. Like, Moira is fun. I like playing Moira, but I don't like playing Moira every game, every day. You know what I mean? It's like, I'd like to play another support, maybe. When I get to play Batiste, I love that. But other supports, it's like, well, I like Zen. I like Anna. These are not supports that are great right now. Lucio, luckily, is pretty good right now, so you can still play Lucio. Mercy's kind of okay, but the problem is you always come back, don't you, to you want the Moira, you want the Batiste. It's like the tank slot. You want the Orisa, you want the Sigma. People will very quickly moan if you've got an Orisa and a Zarya, or a Reinhardt and a Zarya. For whatever reason, they'll want Zarya gone. It's like, we need to get another barrier. It's almost like the community's got this thing in their head where we need double barriers just because it's just everywhere. It is a bit of a meme as well. But yeah, I think just to wrap this video up, I don't think it's going anywhere. I think double barrier is still the strongest meta right now. I don't think they've done enough to make dive come back in every game, but do you really want dive back in every game? I think the key here is you want options and things that can work. So if you do have a dive team, maybe it can work against whatever the enemy have got. It's difficult though, but I think the end of the story here is they're just too slow with balance updates, and we've been through this for years, and we need faster updates. We need faster balance updates just to inject life into the game.
Yeah, I'd be much happy with a less stable game that is balanced and changed faster. Just has more variety, it's just more exciting. You get to play more different things. It's cool. It's fun. I love it.
I agree with that. Guys, I'm in Stylosa. You can subscribe to the channel. Click the bell as well. Well, subscribe if you like, but click the bell. You will get alerted to when videos go live. And follow me on Twitter, which is @Stylosa. It's also the same on Instagram. And you can catch Josh on
@1_amongst_many and Twitch, twitch.tv/1amongst_many TV. Thank you.
Beautiful. We'll catch you guys in the next one. Toodaloo.
Bye.